Chaps and Chapheads, and welcome to another Double Back Monthly, this one for November, a very cold November 2017. What is the Double Back Monthly? Well, it's a kind of video blog that I do for my Patreons, and in it I have a section where I go through all the reviews that I've done this month, the month of November. I also have a section where I talk about my first impressions of board games, new board games that I've played. Woohoo! New board games! And then I have a question time segment where you get to see what goes on in my head. And I finish this video off with a prize draw for those Patreon backers that have backed and pledged and helped supported the work that I do. And I give away something to them. Woohoo! And I'm a nice person. So if that's for you, continue watching this video. There's also a contents page down the bottom so you can time skip to the bit that you want to see. So without further ado, boom! So one of the games that I reviewed was Dark Souls. This was a Kickstarter of a board game based on the video game by the same title, where a party of heroes will go into a dungeon and fight some monsters and get to the end boss and fight them. So far so good. It's a big box, it's a big game with big minis and a big adventure if you're into big adventures. Although the adventure is kind of like linear, you go from point A to point B. Hopefully you get to point B unscathed, but there will be times when you'll be thinking, okay, maybe we should just go back home and pick up that torch. And so in the game, you're going to be going back and forth, leveling up your characters and trying to get them stronger, ready to fight this big boss. The players play against the game, so it's a co-op game, and so you're all working together as a team and trying to find the best strategies to clear out the rooms of monsters, because what do monsters make? Souls. Yes, they do. You collect these souls, you spend these souls, you make yourself tougher, and then you fight this big boss at the end. The game has some really nice mechanics and some really interesting ideas. The minis are not too bad. The artwork is from the game, but the game overall, it's kind of, yeah. After the first, game has finished, you're kind of like, wow, that was exciting to a point, and then it became boring. And then it becomes really exciting again when you get to the end of level boss. Woohoo! The game is good. It feels like an old school computer game where you're fighting your way through a level. But after a while, this game is probably going to get very dull and boring. So I gave it not a very good score. I also got to preview and give my first impressions of a Kickstarter game which is currently running as I speak right now, called Museum, in which players are playing as curators of a museum. You're collecting items from around the world and trying to place them into your museum in such a style that it gains you extra points. This game is very interactive. There's a lot of back and forth in as you're placing items into your museum, but to put that item in the museum, you have to pay an item into your warehouse, which someone else could probably buy from your warehouse and take from you. The game is quite fast. It plays in less than an hour, and it's got that family kind of Ticket to Ride style thing. I'll put a link up on the screen, so if this Kickstarter interests you, you can go there and have a look at it. But Museum is quite an enjoyable one. I think it's definitely one from my collection because I like those type of games. And then I reviewed Boo, which is a family-style game where players are a ghost and they own this castle. But the problem is, visitors come to this castle and the ghost just wants to be left in peace and quiet, so he tries to scare them. The thing is, he needs to get from wherever he is to where the visitor is. And the only way to do that is to walk through walls. But all the walls are different colours, so the problem comes in the fact that your ghost can only walk through one type of colour wall. So you're going to be looking at this board and you'll be going, okay, I'm going to draw a maze. This is my route to get there. The gameplay is very quick. The game balances really well between children and adults because it's got this kind of balancing mechanism with the different coloured walls. As soon as you say colour wall and you show the route and you scare that guest, you get that guest. You also get a wall token of that colour, so you can't say that wall. So as a parent, it kind of holds you back, but at the same time, it gives your kids a chance to play. It's really enjoyable, it's really colourful. I've just reviewed it. Go and check out that video. That was Boo. And also did a podcast with my friend Berkey over in the States. We did a podcast about solo gaming because there's lots of games that are coming out, much like this one here, which are kind of solo gaming experiences. Do we go for those type of things? Should every game be designed to be a solo gaming experience? We also talk about the games that we've played recently and the events that we've been to and the kinds of experiences are. This is a podcast which is live YouTube stream, so you can go and watch it on YouTube, or you can just go download the audio podcast, which is cut and sliced and cleaned up. So now we get to the exciting part. What brand new games have I played? Well, if I look at my supercomputer, I can see that I have played a game called Clank in Space. Clank in Space is a deck building game and a kind of push your luck game as well, because what you'll be doing is you'll be boarding a spaceship, which is a board, and you'll have your little figure and you've got some treasures right at the end, and so you've got to try and make your way all the way through this spaceship through locked doors and teleporters and other kinds of things to get to this treasure and get the hell out of Dodge before the big monster wakes up and kills everybody. Yeah, you can die in this game. Well, guess how you're doing this? You're doing it with deck building. You'll start with some cards and you'll be using these cards to buy other cards to put into your deck. These cards will let you do actions. These cards will let you buy other cards. These cards will protect you and stop you from making lots of noise, because that's why it's called Clank. You make a noise and the monster wakes up and then it'll do some damage to people. This game was not what I expected it to be. I was expecting it to be, I don't know, more grandiose, but it was not too bad. It was a nice exercise in deck building. You could build your deck quite thickly as well. You know, you just didn't need to buy just a few cards. You could buy lots of cards on your turn. The problem that I had with the game is, one, there was a bit of player elimination halfway through the game. Someone had the mischance of making lots of clanking noises and always having their cubes taken from the bag, which were wounds, and when you get to X amount of wounds, you're removed from the game. The game was quite slow to start with because you can't move very far and you have to wait for the right cards to come up, but you know, it was not too bad. It's a game that I wouldn't mind playing again. The art was nice, thematic, you know, there was ideas stolen from, you know, great sci-fi shows that you know, or sci-fi books or bits and pieces. And it had a board which it was modular, so you could change the vessel layout if you wish to. It was interesting. There was lots of possibilities. There's a lot of replayability, but as I said, it was a bit of a funny kind of sensation. Maybe my second game will be a lot better, knowing now what I know before. Again, another deck builder that I played was Edge of Humanity, which is like the end of the world apocalyptic deck building game. Okay, you start with very, very few things, some ideas, some resources and stuff, but you're going to be trading away a lot of these resources to get other cards into your hand. And this deck building game has different turns and actions. You're not always just playing cards to buy cards. There's phases where you're going to be bidding to buy cards and win the cards that you want to win to put into your deck. You're going to be building stuff with the items that you have, and supplies are the important thing. And every round there's an event that happens and you will have to weigh everything up. Will you give away some of your life points? Will you discard some cards? Will you trash some cards just so you can stay in the game and stay ahead? It was a really head-scratchery game at first, because you'll start with 10 cards. You might finish the game with 9 cards. The game is pretty short. It has its time limit. There's a score limit, so when one player passes a certain score, the game ends. Or when you get through this scenario. Yes, it's scenario based. Not that the scenarios played much into the game. There was a lot of flavor text, but then it was just basically lose 2 hearts or discard a card. Up to you. But the game it felt very tense. The first game that I played wasn't that tense, and we were like disillusioned that this was it. Second game, it felt a lot better. We understood the game, and hopefully I'm going to have the same sensation with Clank as well. But yeah, it's not too bad. Again, I need to play it a bit more, and what I want to see some of the other kind of like mechanisms which come into play, like the survivors and guns and things and pieces like that, because each scenario is different. So yeah, it's not looking too bad at the moment. Edge of Humanity, it looks nice, but we'll see. Another game that I got to play was called Bronze. In Bronze, you are in the Bronze Age, but you've got wooden cubes for some reason. This game is a wooden cube game. You're going to be drafting a card and placing it into an invisible tableau in front of yourself, and this card will give you a power. Well, not power. It will tell you that you can build and construct a civilization on a certain type of terrain with a certain type of hut, maison, house, whatever. And so you have this big plateau in the middle of the board, which again is, you know, interchangeable and modular. And you'll be starting on the left hand side and going to the right hand side. And you want to get the majority of cubes on the houses in the different terrains to get points. And you're also trying to make chains with the cards that you're placing in front of your little tableau. So they power up, so they multiply. So you're like, okay, if I put this here, I activate this power and that power and that power, and that one activates that power. And so you're trying to build a nice engine with the cards. On top of that, you've got some secret agendas, which will give you more points. For a cube game, it was kind of dull and boring to play, but it became more and more interesting as the game went on. As other players were, you can see they were going for majority either horizontally or vertically on the main board, and so you could block them, but also it would help you out and give you that advantage. And then, as I said, all these other like scoring occasions come up. You would take a new scoring objective, and it's like, okay, right, this is interesting. Yeah, it's not a bad game. I quite enjoyed it, even though it was kind of dull and themeless, really. But hopefully a better theme will be placed onto this game. But yeah, that was Bronze. Really, really nice kind of thinky, quick playing. And one more, I got to play Queen Domino. Never playing King Domino, I got to play the Queen. And in Queen Domino, it's a kind of domino drafting game. You're going to be picking a domino from a selection of dominoes, and each domino has two different types of terrain, and you're building up a kingdom of a 5x5 square of dominoes. And so you'll be placing them, trying to connect them, and some of them will have artwork on them which will give you powers or castles or mines and stuff, and you're trying to make it like maybe big sections of land, or maybe, you know, big sections of water or whatever, and you're just trying to connect them and get the most points and generate the most points from doing it. Very, very simplistic game, very plain looking. There's some nice ideas with the mechanics, like you can get people onto your ground, and you could, you know, there was certain terrain which was constructible terrain, which I think is different from normal King Domino, and therefore you can buy a building from a center pool. That would cost you money, which is points as well. So, you know, you have this whole balancing mechanism of, you know, should I spend the money to buy that castle, which is going to give me a multiplier of 2 for each of the water tiles that I have. And you say you're like weighing all this up, and you're placing this and making this nice little kind of square kingdom, and that's it. We played a 5-player game because Queen Domino, it can go up to 6 if you combine King Domino with Queen Domino. And yeah, it was quite enjoyable. It was quite light. It was quite refreshing. And the other problem was waiting for the other players. That was the main drawback. It was like 5 players, and it was like, oh, come on, just pick a domino. I know which one I want. And if I can't get that one, I know which second one I want. Yeah, but yeah, it's not too bad. I prefer to play Sapiens as a domino game. It's a bit more thinky and a bit more interesting, but this is not too bad. That was Queen Domino.
So, what is it about a board game that clicks with us? What is that moment when we get the game, or we see the game, that it's an instant, I love this game? Is it just purely love at first sight with just the look, you know, the art style which has been used, or the amount of components that are on display? Or is it something else? Is it that intrinsic depth that comes from actually experiencing the game, and it pulls on a string, like a puppet, like a marionette controlling a puppet? Well, yeah, that's probably the word. But what is it that, you know, is that draw which clinches a sale, which clinches a game that you love? Is it the theme? Is it a mixture of everything? It's probably going to be a mixture of everything for everyone. It's going to be a mixture of the mechanics, the theme, and the art. But sometimes you can fall in love with the game and it looks like a pile of poo. And sometimes you can fall in love with the game and the game is actually pants, and all your friends hate it, but you love it because it looks like this, or it's got this theme that really is your bag, baby. And yeah, I have to stop because I've just arrived at a summit here and I love it. I love the skies. Okay, getting back onto the subject, let's take a look at some of my favourite games and why I like them. While I'm in the vineyard, I'm going to talk about viticulture. Viticulture is a board game where you have inherited a vineyard and you got to make your wine the most popular selling in all of the region of wherever it is, which is Tuscany, Spain, somewhere like that. It's not the stunning art which draws me to the game. In fact, the art is not really stunning. It's rustic. It serves its purpose in a way. I don't really look at the art when I'm playing the game. It's more a case of the spaces and the powers that are marked on the cards. So for me, that game clicks due to the fact of the theme, more than anything, slightly more than the mechanics. Because the mechanics, there is one mechanic that I hate about that game, and that's the blind drawing from the decks of cards. It'd be so much easier if there was a market, because as a wine grower, you're not just going to plant any old bloody grape that comes your way, and as someone staying at your house, your hotel, you're going to book the guy that wants to pay the most. Yeah, so if you have a visitor that comes to your vineyard, you're going to want the president and not Mr. Smith who lives down the road, who's going to buy a bottle of your bubbly afterwards. Yeah. Another one of my favourite games is The Resistance, which is a game where there are two teams, but nobody knows whose team you're on. Well, apart from the guys playing the bad guys who are trying to sabotage everything that the other players are trying to do. And this game is enjoyable. Again, the art it's not really there. It's the theme is not even there. It's just a social game, and it's that clicks for me. It's the social element, it's the deducting, it's the back and forth talking, it's the deducing, the backstabbing, the nastiness, the comments, the blags, the jokes, all of that stuff, which really makes that game shine more than the art. Because the art is, you know, again, it's not the best art in the world, but it's not the crappiest. It's above average, but it works for the purpose of the game. Again, it's just colours. You know, have you got a red card or have you got a blue card? That determines what team you're on. Okay, you have no kind of political standing. There's no theme. It's just a case that guys have to go out and sabotage something, and maybe someone is going to sabotage that plan to sabotage something. You know, again, it's the players that actually bring that game to life and make that game fun. Especially if there's someone that says, okay, on this mission we need to jump into the bank and steal as much money as possible and escape through the sewers. Okay, and then we can use that money to finance the next job. You know, little things like that, which makes the game pop, which makes the game enjoyable to play. So there you go, there's some of the games that I really love, and why I love them. because it's not always the art, the theme, and the mechanisms which clinch you on the game. Sometimes a great game will miss one of those, or maybe even two of those. So what's your favourite games? And, you know, which element are they missing which could make them great?
So there you have it. There's the end of the video, and all that remains for me to do is to do my Patreon prize draw, as well as thank my Patreons. Thank you very much. So thank you, Andrew. You know who you are. And thank you, Gaming Rules person. You know who you are. And I think maybe a lot of other people know who you are. And I also need to thank Kevin. You are red today, and I'm going to put you in this sack thing here. Like this, go like that. And green is Curly T. And then we have blue, who is Elephant Girl. And then we have yellow, and that's Olivier. Thank you guys very much for being a Patreon and backing. And also, you can get yourself into a thing like this and have your name pulled out and win something, and I send something to you. Woo! Wouldn't that be cool? All you got to do is be a Patreon and, you know, sponsor the show, so to speak. So I pulled one out, and it's looking at me, and it is blue, and it is Elephant Girl. So, well done. I will get you something in the post, something special, because you're my #1 fan. I think you're my #1 fan. Maybe it'd be like a sledgehammer. I might put a sledgehammer in there just to show you that I don't cheat. I don't cheat. And maybe there's a Holy Grail rabbit in here. No. But anyhow, keep watching this channel. There's going to be lots more videos. There's going to be some Kickstarter videos. There's going to be some reviews as well, and there may even be a top 10. Yes. So thanks for watching. Ciao for now, and remember to please play nicely with each other.
Just sitting at the table next to Felicia.